Thick grass, it can be a blessing and a curse. On one hand, it gives a place for the fish to live, hunt, and hide from predators. On the other, it can be frustrating to fish. In this video, I'm going to show you how to fish it, give you some tips, and show you the gear that I use. Thick grass. This is the time of year that you're going to see a lot of thick grass in the area. And as you can tell, I'm out here launched a little bit early. And goal today is to get some of these redfish that I've been seeing cruising around on this thick grass. This time of year, this is a common problem dealing with thick grass. But I'm going to show you a couple of techniques that I use to kind of counteract this and combat this thick grass. So hopefully we can get on some fish, and I'm going to go over and head to my first spot, and I'll see you there. Now, this time of year, I love starting the day out throwing topwater, but with as tall as this grass was and how much floating grass there was, anything with an exposed hook was impossible to work. So instead, what I did was I took a large 5-inch paddle tail, I rigged it weedless, and I skimmed it across the surface to mimic that fleeing bait fish sound. Come on, get it. Now, this worked well to get their attention, but the strikes were actually few and far between, so I had to change up tactics. Now, these fish weren't feeding aggressively, so I switched over to the Polk County tweaker. I rigged that both weedless and weightless, and after this swing and a miss, things definitely picked up for me. Had my camera off for that one, but I literally cane pulled this one. Right there where those bubbles are is where I got this one to hit. Saw him swimming by the nose of the boat, and got this one on the tweaker. Getting better results, actually getting some bites with the tweaker, but man, I've had some swings and some misses here. The grass is so thick you can't even see them. Man, when they get up in this grass, they just get so pretty. Come here. Look at that. Pretty fish. Okay, so I want to talk about the lure and the setup that I'm using. So because of this topped out grass that we have right here, I'm using a weightless application. This is a weightless Haas Helix hook. That is a 4/0, and the lure that I'm using is a Polk County tweaker. Now, the reason why I'm using a lure like this is because if you notice there's no tail or anything on it, and this thing just casts like a bullet. So when you go weightless, you're going to give up a little bit of your casting distance, but the design of that lure, that shape of that lure is going to make up for it. So you know, these fish, you know, because they're shallow, because they're, you know, they're in this clear water, they're going to be spooky. So you want to go ahead, you know, and make sure that you're making as long a cast as possible. Now, the one that I just caught happened to be right at the boat, but you definitely give yourself more of an advantage if you can make these long casts. And that's the setup that I have right there. There we go. Saw him from a long ways away. I actually turned my trolling motor off and waited for him to cross me. I don't want to cut him off. It's a good size one. Got some salad in there with it too. A nice fish. Bigger than I thought, actually. Usually if that vegetation gets on top of them, it'll kind of slow the fight down a little bit. They kind of give up at that point, but it's not sliding down the line. But we'll keep that in there, cause extra drag. It'll tire them out quicker. There we go. You know what? There is a gator in the area here. I'm going to go net him just to be safe. There we go. Kind of rolled up on that gator. There's one sitting right around in here. Keep my eye out there. Make sure he doesn't come up when I get my fish. There we go. All that salad and all. Had a lot of slack line in there. I had to make up for that one. That's why I hit it so hard. Actually, to be honest with you, I was just blind casting this one. Got work in the area, seen some tails running around here, but I wasn't casting anything specific. So just goes to show you, whenever you are, there's one right there. Whenever you're seeing fish in an area, just slow down and fish it. Don't just speed on past it. Make a couple of casts and say, well, I guess they're not biting. A lot of times you could be giving up on some fish. Come here, buddy. All that salad in your face. Here we go. A great looking fish. Go ahead and give him a proper release. There you go. Okay, so one thing that I do whenever I catch a fish, I'll take my hands, get that fish slime on it, and then I'll wipe that on my lure. Because what I'm trying to do is just put a familiar scent on that lure, so whenever the fish goes to strike it, they'll smell something that they know, and that way maybe it's a little bit of a decision maker whether they're going to hit it or not. But that's something I always do. Let's talk about the gear we've been using for this when we're fishing these grass mats. Now, again, I like using a weightless soft plastic. So I'm using that tweaker so I can make those long casts because it doesn't have any kind of tail or anything like that. We get a lot of distance out of it, but I am using that weightless. That is the Haas Helix in the weightless model. And again, the reason why we want that is we don't want these lures to sink down in that grass whenever we pause it. We want it to sit on top so the fish are going to be able to find that. Now, what I'm doing with my leader and my main line, a lot of people might think because we're fishing this heavy grass that you need to go up. We need to upsize. Well, I actually, I kind of do a little bit different. I'm using light stuff. So I'm using 15-pound mono leader and I'm using 10-pound braid. And the reason why I'm doing that is because that knot that I'm attaching my braid to the leader material, I want it to be as small as possible. If you use larger braid and you use larger leader material, it's going to make that knot big. So we can have all the patience we want, make that cast, that perfect cast, and then what happens is that big knot is going to grab some of this grass and it's going to scare that fish off before our lure even makes it to it. So that's why I like using the smaller leader material and the smaller braid, make that knot smaller. And this is all you need. Fishing for these slot-sized fish, you really don't need a whole lot. A lot of times the reason why you're going up in size in this leader material is for abrasion resistance. Well, this grass really isn't sharp. You don't have to worry about getting cut off on it. And these fish that I'm fishing for are slot-sized fish. Now, if I was out here fishing for bull reds, something really, really big, then yes, I would go up in size. But for these slot fish in this grass, this is perfectly fine. So that's going to be a 15-pound leader material, mono leader material, and 10-pound braid. The rod, that's going to be a 7.5 foot medium power fast action. Reason why I like the 7.5 foot, can get a little more casting distance. That medium power, that fast action is going to have enough backbone to be able to drive that hook through that plastic and get it pinned in that fish's mouth. So that's the setup. I like that medium power. The reel is going to be a 2500. You can either use a 2500 or a 3000. This happens to be the Otis 2500. That's a composite reel. It's nice because if you're casting all day long, it's really light. Between this rod and this reel, light setup, you can throw these all day and don't have to worry about having a sore arm the next morning. Now, first thing in the morning, I was throwing a different setup. I was throwing that paddle tail that I was skimming across the surface. And that is this one here. That is going to be the bomber. That's a 5-inch bomber. And I still have that rigged on a weedless hook. So that's on the Haas Helix, the weightless hook. Now, the weedless and weightless. But that is the setup right there. Now, the reason why I like this one is because when I'm throwing it out there and I'm going to start reeling in there, without any weight on there, it pops up on the surface really quickly. So it attracts that attention. It stays up on the surface and it has that vibration and makes that gurgling sound, and that's what really draws those fish in. As you can see, those fish were coming up behind it and they were waking after it. Now, some of the more aggressive fish were, they'll attack it, and this is the setup to go. If these fish are feeding aggressive along these grass mats, I like using that one, but these fish are a little bit spooky today, so I'm going down to that subsurface lure and getting more hookups that way. But I was getting some pretty cool bites with this one. Now, whenever I'm using this setup, I like using a medium heavy, and the reason why I like using a medium heavy is that is a big plastic lure. That's a lot of plastic to drive that hook through. That medium heavy fast action is going to have more backbone. You're going to be able to drive that hook through that plastic, and you're going to have more hook sets that way. And as far as the leader material, now you can go up in size with this one, and the reason why is that line is going to be out of the water because you're going to be raising your rod tip up, you're going to be reeling that line in, and the lure is going to be skimming along the surface, so that knot's really not going to be in the water. You're not going to catch any weeds with it. So if you want, you can go up 20, even 30 pound if you want. Main line, I'm still going 10 pound, and the reason why I'm going 10 pound is for the casting distance. Even every time that you go up in your mainline diameter, your strength, you're going to sacrifice a little bit of casting distance. And of course, we're going weightless. I want as much casting distance as possible, so we're still going to keep that 10. And the reel, this is going to be either a 2500 or a 3000 size. This happens to be the Daiwa Saltist, something I've been trying out, enjoying it so far. But the reel is going to be the same setup as you have with that other lure. Just as I was done filming that last section, I happened to look up, I see a tailing redfish, so I gave it a cast. Tailing redfish. one of the coolest sights out there. Seen a bunch of them cruising around here. Not too many of them stopping and tailing like this one was doing, but it's definitely a cool sight. He's all grassed up. You know, yeah, talking about it, yeah, about the type of, yeah, the line and the leader and all that stuff. You know, a lot of people think that this thick grass, you've got to use this heavy stuff, but you'd be surprised at how well this 15 will hold up there, especially, you know, seeing how this stuff is just not abrasive. If I was fishing around oysters or docks or rocks or something like that, then you definitely want to go up, but that was loud. But here in this grass, this is perfectly fine. You know, something new to me on fishing out of a boat is the extra obstacles of the trolling motor and the outboard motor. And redfish, as we all know, love to go underneath the boat. There we go. Nice one. That right there is the fish of the day. There we go. That is a quality fish. Love the colors on him. Nice little spot. Got that little opening right there. Right there. Actually, I'm still using that same tweaker that I've been using all morning. I've caught a few fish on it, missed a couple, but it's still holding up. No sense in changing it out if you don't have to, right? Let's give him a proper send-off here. There we go. And just disappears in that grass. Now let's talk about the negative sides of this. Not everything's perfect, and this fishing can be a little bit frustrating. So are these lures completely weedless? No, they're not. You're going to get some grass, especially if there's a lot of floating grass. It's going to wrap around your hook. It's going to wrap around your leader, maybe around your knot, and that can be frustrating at times. So just be mentally prepared for that. So if you're out here thinking that, you know, you're casting and you're getting hung up every once in a while, you're getting some grass on your line every once in a while, and it's not right, that's just part of the game. It's part of dealing with the situation that you're dealt with. And another thing, these fish aren't just gimmies. Just because you see that fish cruising across the surface and you land that perfect cast doesn't mean they're going to eat all the time. Sometimes you got to cast at them 4, 5, 6, 7 times. Sometimes they don't bite at all. Matter of fact, today, it's one of those days. You know, I've showed you some fish catches, some really nice fish catches, but I've thrown to a lot more fish than I've showed you. And that's just, you know, that's just the name of the game. It's fishing sometimes, and especially with sight fishing. If they get too close or there's just something about it that they don't like, then you don't catch them a lot of times. So don't get too frustrated whenever you're out there and they're just not biting what you're throwing. You might want to experiment, change things up a little bit, but that is the name of the game when it comes to sight fishing. And another thing that I'll give you is missed hook sets. When you're out here and you're fishing this type of area, you'll want to hit them pretty hard. I'm going to hit them, you know, hate to say it, you know, kind of like a Bassmaster style. I give them a hard hook set, and the reason why is because there is a lot of grass. You might have some bow in your line, might have a little bit of slack in your line, especially if there's floating grass on there. It's going to create some resistance to that line coming through the water. So hit them hard. And sometimes if I don't think I hit them hard enough that first time, I'll give them an extra little pop that second time to make sure that hook gets set in there. So those are a couple of the frustrating things when it comes to this style of fishing, but it's still fun. So hopefully this helps you out. If you're out there and you see those redfish belly crawling on that thick grass, now you know what to do. Just follow the tips in this video, and I'm sure that's going to turn some frustrations into some really nice days. And if you're looking for any of the gear that I use, whether that be the Polk County Tweaker, whether that be the mulligan, the rods, the reels, lines, anything along those lines, we do have them available at fishstrong.com. And remember, Salt Strong Insiders get a huge discount off a tackle at fishstrong.com. Now, I know we have a lot of people, a lot of experience levels that watch these videos, and I would love to hear, do you have any other tips that you would like to add whenever you're dealing with this thick grass and how you catch fish? Put those down in the comments below. So I really do appreciate you watching this video. Make sure and click like and subscribe if you like these videos, and if you got any questions or comments, go ahead and put those down below, and I'll try to answer them as soon as I can. I hope your next trip out on the water is a great one. Bye.